All right. There we go. Hello, everyone, and this is the Sonic Boom panel. We got the writers and producers from Sonic Boom with us today. And I guess all you want to introduce yourselves. Say hi to Bill Freiberger.
Howdy.
His son, Sam Freiberger.
What up?
Greg Hahn.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And Alan Denton.
Sup.
All right. Glad to see you for another year. This has been, I think, your fourth or fifth year that you've been attending the convention, and this is our first digital convention. All right. Thank you for coming back another year. To say this year has been different from most has been a massive understatement. How has 2020 treated you so far?
A little bit better than Sega treats me.
Oh, we're going right there to start.
Joking. Sort of.
Only sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Greg and I, we still work together every day, and we live a block away from each other, but we have to Skype conference every time we write. I don't know. I think it's made us more efficient, though, right, Greg?
Somehow, yes. I think there's extra pressure on us to accomplish something in that time, because you could just feel. It just feels like there's no sun anymore. They blacked out the sun, basically. We're indoors all the time. I could just feel like I'm like the longer we sit inside, the less accomplished I feel. So I think when we do video chat, Alan and I kind of there's a little we're invigorated by the idea of creating something and not completely schlubbing around, so to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now that the show has officially ended, but still available on Hulu and DVD, you can get it on Amazon for $9.96 or $15 if you want the two little action figures to go with it. plug. What do you feel is your biggest achievement on the show, and what part of the show would you think you regret at all?
What do I regret? Buster.
Oh.
Not
That's
the whole
episode 3?
concept of it. Was more the design, though, right, Bill? It was.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole different idea for what the episode was supposed to be, and then the design got messed up, and then I just don't like that episode because it really doesn't. Styx isn't in character, and the design didn't work for what the concept was.
So yeah, it was that Styx, who is suspicious of all robots, would fall in love with a little robot dog, being the biggest problem for you, right, Bill?
Yes. We had made a design, or I wanted a design where you couldn't tell it was a robot until the climax.
Yeah. But what are you most proud of? You ignored the happy part of the question.
I'm proud of most of the show. I'm really pleased with how most of it came out. I like that it's smart and doesn't talk down to kids. It talks down to people who want the show to be for kids, even though they're adults. Very often with animation, you have adult fans saying, kids, animation wasn't really meant for kids. It's for adults too. And those are the people who never like anything adult in a cartoon. They're the ones who want it to all be simplistic.
Yeah.
Which I find is an interesting dichotomy.
You go, Sam.
I am so proud of the episode Network. As far as the thing I'm most proud of in the show, for my contribution, I would have to say Network is my favorite because, I hate to say it, but called it.
I would say my favorite. I mean, I don't have a favorite thing in particular, but maybe almost putting the baby in the blender. I guess I'll throw that out. That was a joke I liked. No, but in generally speaking, I'm just like, I'm really proud of the comedy we got to write, all thanks to Bill's kind of leadership and allowing us to write a show that doesn't write down the kids. Just like Bill said, the fact that we got to do a show smarter than you thought it would turn out is kind of the most rewarding part.
Now, is there anything you wanted to do on the show, but Sega or the network wouldn't allow?
Oh boy, Bill?
Yeah.
Well, there are just some rules with any kind of IP. To just divert a second to the Sonic movie. When I saw the design for Sonic, I said, there's no way Sega would ever approve that. The design, especially the eyes and stuff, was just so far afield of what Sega wants of the character. So, that kind of stuff, it's typical stuff. I'm surprised they tried to do it in the movie. I'm glad they fixed it in the movie. But that's the kind of thing, that Sega's entitled to protect their character. Yeah, so, it's really not a lot that I felt, we really had this great idea. I mean, we did the live action shot, with the guy throwing out the trash, one too many. So if we got away with that, I really can't have too many complaints about what Sega didn't let us do.
I think I can think of one, Bill, that you might want to have. I think we talked about it at last year's con, but that wasn't for all the internet to see like we are right now. There was an episode that I think we wrote in its entirety that just got canned. That was Eggman gets married to Lady Walrus.
Yes. Eggman marries Lady Walrus for her money. But I don't know that was really something that Sega wouldn't let us do, so much as they wanted to make the final episode a two-parter, and so we had to expand the final episode, and that cost us an episode.
Okay, well, that's something that was on the cutting room floor that just didn't make it. That would have been a fun thing.
Yeah, that would have been a good episode, I think, where Lady Walrus moves into the Eggman's lair with her kids, who drive Eggman crazy.
And then, of course, there was, we wanted to do Eggman Dies. I pitched an episode called Eggman Dies, where Eggman is concerned that his robots are taking a bit too much initiative, and he decides to fake his own death, grave illness, and eventually his own death like Castro, so he could go spy on his robots and see which one rises to power so he can dismantle that one. But in doing so, he goes and hides in the ventilation shaft to watch, and ends up getting stuck there and slowly starves to death. And that was a big hell no from standards and practices.
I don't remember this at all. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting with cartoons where you can't say kill; you can only say like destroy.
Right.
And that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Well, and also why there's so many robots in kids' cartoons, because you could be really violent to a robot, but the second it's an organic character, you can't go hitting them with wrenches or something,
Right. Yeah, that's why the Foot Soldiers and Ninja Turtles were changed to robots, as opposed to in the comics they originally just like ninja dudes. They had to become robotic so they could smash them constantly every episode.
The other thing which I put the kibosh on, which was another idea that Sam had, is Eggman builds a wall around Gogoba Village to keep the Gogobas out.
All right.
That would have been so topical. That would have been perfect.
Well, the thing was, I was afraid by the time it hit the air, no one would know what it was anymore. I was completely wrong.
Yeah, you were living in an optimistic future.
Yeah. I was not in alternate 1985.
Yeah, Bill thought things were going to get better, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So the joke would have still worked.
Yeah. I want to do a whole thing about the Gogobas being undesirables and wanting to keep them out of Hedgehog Village, and all about that. And Sam was like right on the money, and I just thought we didn't have enough time. I thought for sure that people would say, "Oh yeah, that's old news" by the time it aired.
Right, because it wouldn't air for like another 2.5 years or something.
It would have been more like a year or year and a half. But yeah. I thought for sure that would all be
hopefully resolved in a satisfying.
Hypothetically, if the third season had happened and you had the freedom to do whatever you'd liked with the show, what direction would you have liked to have taken that show in?
Oh boy, more of the same, baby.
Basically, I would have wanted to do more of the satirical stuff, like Nutwork, which of the 2 seasons, Nutwork is my favorite episode because it really has a lot of social commentary, but it's also funny. I would like to have done more of that if we had a 3rd season.
Yeah. I feel like by that point we probably would have got into more specific like theme parody episodes, because we'd just be running out of ideas, and we would just kind of go like, well, this is a Mrs. Doubtfire episode, and just like kind of do more genre parodies. I think 3rd season. That's what I'd be pitching anyway, because I'd be out of ideas.
For sure. I think it would. I mean, we definitely would have. I would assume Sega would have allowed us another side character or two that would have really been fun to kind of experiment with. We would have. I'm sure.
Get Charmy.
Charmy the Bee would never. I wouldn't allow. I bet Bill, I would have vetoed that from you. We're not using that obnoxious little.
You would have
bee.
walked out of the room.
I would have walked out. We had to use Charmy the Bee, but we could have used like Big the Cat or something. We would have found a fun place to. For any number of the Sonic extended universe.
Yeah,
but not Charmy.
I kind of liked our characters more than trying to incorporate a lot of the existing characters because there are so many restrictions. Our characters, we just could say this is how this character behaves. Whereas Big the Cat or whoever, someone would have come in and said, well, you have to make sure to do it this way. You have to make sure to do it that way.
You would have gotten Schrodinger's Big the Cat.
You guys, I used to do like comedy writing as far as like my own fan comic or sometimes fan fiction, that kind of stuff. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
Find a new career. The industry is ending soon.
We're going down with the ship.
No, I don't think that's true. I think there's always going to be entertainment, but it's always going to be very competitive because it's where people want to be. So, find a new career. It's not the advice any of us took, even though we were told it as well. But definitely try to write as often as you can. Write every day and practice and share it with your friends and take notes and see what people like and study your favorite shows and your favorite movies in order to get better at it.
Yeah, and it's also it's like you gotta network and meet people. Like the only reason Greg and I got work on Sonic Boom was because I met Bill when I first moved to California at an alumni association thing, and he was willing to read a script of mine that I wrote, and just kind of gave me feedback, and we were friends for 5 years or something before he ever hired me on anything. And it's just kind of you got to meet people, build up relationships, take their advice, and like be friends with them. Kinda, which is like the worst advice because as writers we're all antisocial and we don't want to go out to places or have conversations with people, but that's kind of what it takes a little bit.
As far as writing goes, just sit down with a notebook and tell the truth, or your computer and tell the truth.
Okay, wait, what do you mean, Sam? What are you writing?
What are you writing? What am I writing? I am
writing. It sounds like you're about to pitch a blog that I should subscribe to.
No, I'm not selling anything. I'm not laying a sales pitch on anybody except to tell the truth as you see it because too many people lie.
That's absolutely true. I'm with Sam on that, frankly.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's kind of what we did on Sonic Boom through, these characters. Was I always wanted to, that's why the episodes I like best are the ones that tell the truth. That's why Styx is my favorite character, because she always is paranoid and distrustful of the government. And we're learning in the show, she always turns out to be right in the end. I think we're learning that in real life, she was right in the end too. And, Styx is kind of my truth. And so, we tell the truth in that, even in the venue of a kid's cartoon.
We did that through a whole bunch of different characters, the sleazy politician mayor who can't really be trusted. And then, we have Dave the intern, who's this low-wage employee who's long-suffering, under the oppression of his McDonald's-like Meburger that he works for. So, yeah, that was kind of a theme throughout all of the original Boom characters.
Other advice is to, like, when you're writing your samples, just write what you like. Don't try and chase what you think is marketable or what is selling or what other people want to see. Write what you like, because that goes back to what Sam was saying of tell the truth. When you're authentic and you're trying to be authentic, it comes across a lot better.
This is for Bill and Sam, who've both worked. I don't remember if Greg or Alan have worked on the comic book of Sonic Boom at all. That was.
We did, technically.
Yes, we did. Well, I'll be happy to tell that story.
No. Sam and Bill have the public.
No, they have the actual story. Well, real quick though, since we just prompted it. No, we wrote issues. I want to say it was
12 and 13.
12 and 13 of the comic book. You may notice there are only 11 issues. Right. We found that out via the Twitter as well. They went like, here's issue 11. It's the last one. Bye, everybody. And we went, huh, nobody told us that. But, we got paid. It was a fun job.
Yeah.
Hey, can you share those scripts sometime?
No, absolutely not.
property.
No way.
Darn. So, which is a more fun experience, scripting a cartoon or scripting comics?
I like writing TV because I know how to do it and I've been doing it. The comic book required an additional level of thought of how to communicate the ideas because the ideas are very different in how you present a comic book. The comic book obviously is a still image. So you need to describe the image and everything you want has to be in the image, and then you write the dialogue on top of it. In TV, you could have a joke where someone says something and then something happens, or the person starts to run, or the person moves, and the movement can be part of it. In the comic book, everything needs to work in still frames, which took me a little time to get used to.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bill. I'm a lot faster at writing TV scripts than comic scripts.
Well, it was a lot of fun to break the medium with comic books in that there's certain jokes you can tell in a comic book that you couldn't tell on the TV show. Like I remember doing one where the Eggman is thinking something through and there's a bunch of different Eggmen and then they start talking to each other on the comic book panel. And you can't, as far as,
Sure.
The medium is concerned, it's just you can only do that in a comic book. You couldn't do something like that in the show. It wouldn't make any sense. But not that something not making sense has ever stopped us before. Well, oddly enough, there was one more meta joke. There was one thing that did get cut. I wanted the comic book to end with an anthropomorphic skunk that looked like me writing an angry letter to Eggman from Eggfan91. So it was me the whole time, but I'm just this skunk. So they're just like, nah, like we're gonna pass on that bit. But literally everything else they let me do.
Well, we couldn't make fun of how much sports tape Knuckles was wearing in our comic. They told us to take that out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He referred to it as too much sports tape.
They were like, those words don't belong together. They
write them out.
Yeah.
Finally, before I take it over to the Discord for Q&As, what experience have you taken away from working on the show?
Oh man. For Greg and myself, it was our first time working as staff on a show, and for us, it was boot camp. It was everything. It was just watching Bill kind of shepherding an idea, from concept to execution, and just sort of shadowing him, going to the records. I mean, it was just kind of, for me, just all about seeing the process through for the first time, beginning to end. That was the most valuable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I to piggyback on that, Alan said, we also got to go to the records, which, not every writer gets the opportunity to do that. So
Sure.
It was really great that we kind of got to sit there and see the sausage being made with all the voice actors in one room, which is another thing that actually isn't that common in animation anymore. So it was a really valuable experience. It was cool. We got to give notes to the actors, make sure they were kind of delivering our jokes the way we had heard them in our heads. And just doing that also gave us a better idea of the character voices and made it easier to write too. So, yeah, it was great.
This is one I was thinking about bringing up, but it's a good question. With Styx appearing in the Rio Olympics, Sonic Runners, she had her own little comic strip for the 25th anniversary. How do you feel about that? Because, this is a character you guys helped evolve into her own being, so to speak, and now she's an official part of Sega.
When you work on an IP, you are just one of many people who, over the years, get handed the character, get to do some fun stuff with it, and then you relinquish your attachment to it. So, I mean, whatever they do with Styx, I mean, I would imagine that there will be times when if I see something with Styx, I'll say, oh, that's not Styx. They got the character wrong. Or maybe I'll say, oh, yeah, I wish I thought of that thing for Styx. That's kind of the bottom line, is that they're only in our charge for a little while. So, it doesn't really matter what the next people do to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me once I've moved on.
I get warm fuzzies seeing Styx, though, because Styx started on our thing. And so, and anything after that, they're standing on Boom's shoulders a little bit. So that makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's kind of the legacy. I mean, if that's like the long-standing legacy of our show, if that's the one piece of Sonic Boom that's going to be allowed to live on outside of our series, then that's cool. That Styx is like continuing onward and showing up in games, showing up in comics. It's great that that's like a long-lasting part of
I like
the Sonic
fact
universe.
the fact that she's in these things indicates that the fans like her, and they like the work we did in dealing with her.
What would you say are the essential characteristics that make Eggman and Sonic Boom unique to other iterations of the character?
Well, they're irreverent, right? Like our show is like significantly funnier than any of the other Sonic properties, and I'm not afraid to say that our Eggman and our Sonic are the funniest iterations of Sonic.
They're a lot more petty, I would say, in Boom than they are in anything else. And that's what I love. I love, because it's great when there's a big robot fight or something, but I love when they're just arguing over, the last can of peas at the grocery store.
Which Sonic Boom episode took the longest to make, and why?
Bill?
You know what? They all take the same. It's an assembly line process. The only thing I would say is the one that took the longest, theoretically, was the one with the live action shot, because it took a long time to get approval. It took a long time to set everything up, and then suddenly it was happening right away. And the guy made the costume the night before, and Sam directed it, and my friend's son was the cinematographer. But it happened so much later. It was literally, if we don't get it done this week, we can't do that shot. And so that's what took the longest.
I remember that guy who did the costume said he stayed up all night and got no sleep, and so he just showed up bleary-eyed, and we're like, "That's perfect, that's perfect."
Yeah, not ready for his close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Yeah, and actually, it was really weird because we had made arrangements to try and make a costume, and then this guy, they said, "Oh, we found a guy. He's going to make his own costume." That's great. And then when we were doing the record for that episode, I had Roger Craig Smith record the line just in case. And then when we're shooting the thing, we couldn't get the line the way we wanted. We kept trying and trying. And then we took the shot that we got that we liked. We took Roger's line, we ran into my office, and we dubbed it in, and it fit perfectly. It matched his lips perfectly. And it raised the performance like 1,000%. And so we knew we had it at that point.
We played it on the phone. I think we had it. I had a recording of it on my phone that we played, and we synced it up on set. On set.
Which is my driveway.
Set.
Yeah, the driveway. I mean,
one camera and no lights.
What light? We got the sun. We got the sun. That's the best light.
Well, no, actually. We did three different versions of that shot, because we actually we did the one where he's taking out the trash. We did one where he's sitting at a table eating a chili dog,
and we did
another one. Excuse me?
Yeah, with a fork and knife, and there was like a nice dinner setup with a tablecloth and like all the silverware arranged in the correct order, that you do for dignitaries and all that.
Yeah, and then we just went with the trash.
Okay, this next one is from CreamFan 200-530. Were there any characters that you came up with that you had to scrap?
Oh, tons, right?
Characters?
Yes. Red, I guess Hap scrapped Red Heron in Eggman's hotel episode, the one where Eggman has a hotel. He was supposed to be Red Herring. He was supposed to be a walking, talking fish that just shows up, and so the Red Herring joke works better. But like we've already established the way fish are, thanks to friggin' Gil, who I hate. And
nobody knows who Gil is. Bill, it was just in that one episode, right?
No, it was in 2 episodes. It was in 2 episodes.
But I kept putting Gil in because I thought Gil was really funny. I wanted him to be.
The irritable bowel syndrome guy, right?
Irritable
bowel syndrome, man. I just ruined it.
But I actually...
No, you didn't ruin it. You're not the one who ruined it.
that was my thing. Is I wanted him to be a fish, just like the other characters, walking around on two legs, but he was a fish. And then again, there were design issues, and he wound up in a little bowl because someone said, "Well, he says irritable bowel syndrome. Shouldn't he be in a bowl?"
Oh no, that was why. That was the reason.
Yes,
It's a regular clump situation.
Oh, the clump situation. I understand what Greg's talking about.
You
That
know,
was-
Alan.
That was one time where we, in the script, it said they stand in a clump, and then we got some concept art of a little mossy hill with like a little bog with insects, and they're like, "This is the concept art for the clump," and we went, "No, they just stand together."
yeah, they didn't understand the. This was kind of
That was,
different.
that was a language translation.
That wasn't a language translation.
Yeah.
That was someone wanting it to be that way because of the words.
Yeah.
How is it that Percy and Stacy ended up looking the same instead of being distinguished from each other?
That started with the Buckethead Knuckles episode, right,
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, basically, there are times in television, I know that a lot of the fans don't want to hear this, but there are times when you do stuff to save money. And we needed a girl on each arm, and we didn't have a model, and we didn't have time to draw a model of that character. So I said, just use
Just duplicator, right?
just use Percy, duplicator, flipper, and then people started asking about it, and then since we had the character of Percy's sister, I just kept using her because we didn't have other characters. That's why every character shows up doing one thing. Like Soar the Eagle is a motivational speaker, but then he's also the newscaster because we can't afford to design another character. That's just television production.
And so, Bill, why is Stacy Percy's younger twin sister?
Because I just thought that was funny. She was born second as a twin.
But Bill, how many minutes apart were they born? Like, how much older is she? They need to know this for the. They need to know this for the wiki. It's for the wiki, Bill.
Bill deals with this every day.
Yeah, I know. And then the bottom line is, I don't know why people can't understand this. If it doesn't happen within the episode, it's not canon. I can say anything. I can say Percy is 47 years old.
Percy is 47.
It's no different than anyone else saying it. What I believe to be when I'm writing it, I'm thinking in my head, I'm going to write her like a 47-year-old. If it isn't in the show, it's not canon. It just can't be.
But here's the canon. Percy's 47.
Yeah, that's what
Stacy's
I meant.
46 because they were born on the new year. That was the separating. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So if you're curious, that's how it works.
Not sure it works that way. You might want to check the Pythagorean theorem on that one.
I guess it depends on the time. Yeah.
Like Bill just said, if it hasn't happened on screen, then it didn't happen.
I think we just saw it right before this. That was officially canon. Right? What aired right before this? It was the meeting of Sonic and Tails. Fan made, but that's canon. So there you
go. So what do you think about that? About fans making their own like computer animated, cartoons and stuff?
I think it's a great thing to start with if you're like if you're wanting to get into animation to pick something that is going to immediately get eyes on it because there's already a fandom excited about it, and to harness your skills as an animator or writer or whatever. I think it's a great thing to do. But I also think that people who do that stuff should then mentally move on and try to create something original that they themselves can say they created entirely, so they can own it and turn it into something even cooler.
I know a lot of people in the comic books, Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley started out by doing fan comics, and they got into Sonic. They now are doing most of Sonics. They were fans who became professionals. I know there are people on Star Trek who wrote Star Trek fan stuff that then went on to become Star Trek writers. I think Brandon Rogers was one of them. I met him somewhere once. We were talking about that he was just a fan who wrote a spec script and really has never worked on anything that wasn't science fiction since. So to me, there is something to be said for that. Any way you can break in. But at the end of the day, if you're a writer, making animation doesn't help you. Writing scripts does. If you're an animator, you should animate stuff that you can show people. Say, look what a good animator I am. Are you looking for people on your new Sonic TV show? I did this Sonic animation. Or better yet, it's like writing a spec script. Writers sometimes write a script of an existing show as a means of creating a sample for themselves. And what happens a lot of times, and the rule always is, although it's not always true, that you use that sample for other shows, but the people who work on the show never want to read a sample for their own show because they know all the rules you broke, and other people who just watch it like you do don't know all the rules you broke. And I think it's the same thing with making an animation like this, a Sonic fan animation. It's good to a point, but you really need to do other things if you want to be a true professional and not just someone who does fan things.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at our pal Tyson, for example, who broke in doing fan stuff and then started working on the comics, and then made his own comics and did his own stuff, and now he's Mr. Sega, savior of Sonic movie. That's kind of, he was just a fan who wrote what he liked and eventually got hired.
Well, yeah, I mean, my friends and I, when we were little kids, we'd make James Bond movies and Spider-Man movies and stuff. That's how you start out, is you just make little versions of the stuff you like already, and then you can branch out, like Greg said, into creating your own characters, creating your own universes, kind of creating your own stories, and then just use that as a jumping off point. But yeah, I think it's great. Absolutely great to make stuff based on the franchises you like.
You probably seen the Knuckles meme approved meme going around. Wants to know what you guys think of that.
Love it.
Well, I shared it. I just like it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, again, it's another one of those things. It's like the weird legacy of Sonic Boom is if it's 1,000 different memes on the internet, then so be it.
Yeah, and we also, Bill, that was definitely a Bill line, I remember. We were not writing it with any concept of memes, because the line was, they said, by whom? By meme. It was a grammar joke that Knuckles just did not understand. And then that became isolated as meme, and then the next word was approved. So we did not see that coming at all. So to me, it was delightful.
Okay, question from Musical Nerd 89. What are your favorite animated series? I guess outside of Sonic Boom.
South Park.
The Simpsons.
Let's see. I mean, we're all students of television and animation. Like South Park and The Simpsons on the adult side, on the kids side. There, when we were kids, Freakazoid and Animaniacs made an indelible impression on us. Looney Tunes, of course.
Yeah, Rocko's Modern Life was huge for me.
Yeah, and then all the action side, obviously permeated into our brains. I was watching Ninja Turtles and Thundercats back in the day, and it definitely is an influence on the way that we write action scenes.
Oh.
For any of you cool cats who dig on the animation, you gotta check out the coolest cartoon of all time in the history of Warner Brothers, The Three Little Bops. If you have not seen The Three Little Bops, now is the time. You don't know The Three Little Bops?
We'll have to look into it.
Remember the story of the three little pigs. The one played the pipe and the other danced jigs. The three little pigs are still around, but they're playing music with a modern sound. Check it out. It's the coolest thing ever.
Love that cartoon. That was an awesome cartoon.
Yeah, see?
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Batman the Animated Series too. I feel like it's a requirement. I mentioned it, so it's out there.
I remember when I got a bootleg tape of Batman the Animated Series. Not really a bootleg, but through industry people saying this thing's about to come out, and they sent me a copy of it. It was unbelievable. It changed. It changed so many things. How action stuff is done. It was so, and it harkened back to the old Fleischer Superman cartoons, which are really cool too. It had a very similar look.
Yeah, so I think we have to wrap it up here, guys. This has been a lot of fun, though.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you 3000.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much. Okay, Shane.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right. Thank you, guys.